Here we have another squeeze situation. I can tap on my shoulder that I saw it. Negrin, a pretty good high stakes regular, 26-18 here. He's flattening the button, and so he's definitely one of the guys who's capable of defending his button wide enough, though we can take advantage of it. And also Umi here, also a high stakes regular opening from the hijack, and he's also more on the loser side. Look at his 3-bet, 4-3-bet stat, 75. So here I definitely want to see a squeeze. A flat call is very thin in that situation here, and it works. And this is a spot where we should definitely loosen up. If we have this situation that someone has such a high 4-3-bet and someone like Ningrin defending his big button so wide, we should definitely squeeze a little bit wider. A guy like Ningrin is definitely also capable of flatting aces and kings occasionally here, so we shouldn't go too crazy. That's the tricky part about playing against such a good opponent, is that he's also capable of being a little bit tricky here and there. So we shouldn't go too crazy. But King 9 suited is definitely reasonable. King 8 suited might also be fine. Alright, here we are playing against, it seems, 48 hands. It can be falsified because of variance, but the stats saying that he is probably a recreational player. If not, I don't want to offend anybody, so in case you're watching it and you're like, hey, I'm actually regular, I'm just making assumptions based on the stats. I know that if I play a table and on the first 20 hands I'm playing 40, 32, people might also think, oh god, what a maniac fish, right? It's just I'm using the information I have. I'm making them based off the information I have, not based on the player here. So let's say he's a recreational player based on his stats, and I don't mind a 3-bet here, but I would probably ISO 3-bet a hand like King 9 suited. Remember, I want to isolate weaker players here, but King 6 suited is a little bit too weak, so that's why I go for the flat call. And if we take a look at our button versus cutoff range, you see that it is not in our range. But since this is a weaker opponent, also the big blind was unknown to me, so it's somewhat likely that he is also a weaker opponent. I definitely go loser here. I'm able to adjust the range here right away, and I would probably play something like this here. Yeah, probably around 30. I would defend my, usually I'm defending my button around 22% of the time against the cutoff, but here I would defend my button around 30% of the time. Yeah, we flop pretty nice, and top 2 pair on such 2 pair on such a draw board, we should always raise and play straightforward, but he folded right away. So all right, here we have the famous Queen Jack suited example, which we already had earlier. And if you remember, the guy is opening from a more earlier position. It's very thin to flat call. Yeah, though I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind a call here, especially with the cutoff here. He's probably a fish, a weaker opponent. So, but I like either ways here. But I slightly prefer the 3-bet, and I also go for the 3-bet. We make a 3x. He calls a somewhat good board to c-bet with, 2 overcards, backdoor flush draw. We shouldn't c-bet or total junk. So if you have something like Jack 10 and clubs, we can just let it go and give up. That's not, but post-up's not part of this video. It works, and we go to the next one. Queen 10 suited here. Cutoff opens. He seems to be more on the aggressive loser side. Yet I don't want to blow up the pot. We have a really good hand we can flat call with. See a flop. We are also we are ahead against a decent fraction of his range. His jack highs, 9 highs, 10 highs, 8 highs, good equity against the ace highs. So it's a very standard flat call here. And yeah, again we flop pretty good, but yeah, and he was peeling with a6 on the flop. Nothing more to say. Okay, here we have an opponent again who's very, very loose from another gun, 34, 26. But this might be caused by variance, because as you can see from the cutoff, he's actually not that loose. Also not from the small one, and button is also reasonably okay. So this, or he's just thinking, oh yeah, I'm just gonna be very aggressive from early position in order to pretend to be strong. So as I already mentioned, though, there are quite some opponents out there who like to play many hands on EP. Um, although I don't really like three-betting with queen ten off here, against such a special opponent, I wouldn't mind it. Like, I would say, okay, if he's such a special opponent, that's okay. We just fold this hand here. Under the gun, under normal circumstances, we should never play this hand here from the button. Okay, here we have again a squeeze situation. And guys, look at this very situation. And if you don't train your consciousness, and you're like, wow, nice hand, and two players already involved, getting good odds, so I call. I mean, the cutoff is very loose. Look at the button, 41. This is the perfect spot to squeeze super wide. Even not super wide in terms of crap hands, but good hands that are not total junks, or total junk hands or total bluffs. So hands like 10-9 suited, Jack 10 suited, Queen 9 suited, even something like Ace 8 suited. Because if the button calls, we still have really good equity against this range. He would probably call hands like 10-6 suited. So here with Queen 9 suited, I'm even having good equity against his range because he's calling so many crap hands, probably even 9-5 suited. Also, the big blind is more on the aggressive side, so he can take advantage of this spot and then come along with the squeeze play. So I want to take the initiative here and do a squeeze play. Yeah, Queen 9 suited is kind of like borderline with flat calling here. Anyway, Queen 8 suited is probably also okay to call with the button and being in the pot as well. But yeah. So also here there's no need to start betting. We don't blow up the pot, so it's a pretty standard check, and then we go for the river bet, but we're not gonna explain it here. So here Queen 9 suited, okay, this is a little bit more special. Remember the factors you should use in order to widen your cold calling range when there's one player more involved. But here, look at our stack size. We cannot really this is a more speculative hand, so we don't have the implied odds. We cannot really win a big pot when we hit something. And most of the time we're gonna hit a weak second pair, weak top pair, and then we have to pay one more bet. So also we cannot really float on with our gut shots. So here we just let go, and we should probably just play a shuffle fold mode. Maybe calling a hand like King Queen suited, but even King Queen suited is strong enough to just go all in here. So here we just should fold those hands. Maybe Queen Jack suited would be the one hand I would call with, or King Jack suited, but other than that, I'm pretty much in the shuffle fold mode. All right, next hand where we can potentially squeeze. I mean, this is somewhat reasonable button call here, but I think I opted to go for a squeeze. Let's see if the stats are giving me some information I might have considered. Ah, yeah, his 4-3 bet stat. And he was folding to 70% of his 3 bets so far. That's why I went for the 3 bet here. Usually I would just call. This is a little bit too loose, but having the information, I mean, 10 situations so far, but he was already folding 7 out of 10 times to 3 bet. So that's why I went for the 3 bet. Okay, this is actually not a typical 3 bet scenario, but here I want to show you how you can actually easily solve those tricky situations when you face a 3 bet and you have those pocket 10s, pocket jacks, ace queen type of hands, and you don't really want to get it in. So here the small blind 3 bets, and he's fairly aggressive. And calling is okay, but your hand is kind of face up. And against the cutoff, we can probably just get it in if he jams. He will probably jam 10s and ace queen, and with a, I mean, it's close. It's really close. I don't mind a fold though, but in case it might be a call against him, but against a small blind, if he goes over the top and jams, we just have to fold. Or even if he 5 bets, I mean, then it's so obvious that he just has aces or kings or queens. So yeah, and I also made it more on the smaller side, and this is pretty sexy here because I actually just want to protect my hand. I don't want to play multi-way out of position and play my hand face up, and I can also do it with aces and kings. There's no problem. Also with ace king suited. I mean, that what was the worst outcome? Cutoff, he's getting bad price anyway to make the call here, and And I'm making it with such a strong range that I don't mind that small blind calls with this trash hand. Um, I mean, a little bit bigger wouldn't be too bad at all, like 2K, but so I still have the option to get out of the hand because I get a really bad price on his jam, and I mean this is a really easy fold then. So try to take the initiative with those kind of hands, and if you face a jam or a 5-bet, then you can just let go of those hands. I would probably stack off with queens here, but definitely 4 jacks. Jack 10 suited here against this position. He was a recreation player, but he was not raising so many hands so far. His PFR is only 10. That means his preflop raise, so that's why I opted to make a fold here. On the first 30 hands, it seems that he's a recreation player, 30-10, but yeah, again, recreation players, it's not too bad to call those hands. You're gonna make it up post flop because they will probably make mistakes, but yeah, this is definitely a fold more on the tighter side. But definitely a viable hand to bluff 3-bet here. All right, here we go. Next potential spot to 3-bet. Flat calling is also somewhat reasonable. I really don't mind it, but the button and the cutoff, they're kind of short. And here stack size analysis is very, very important because they're probably going to jam hands like 6s, 7s, 8s, ace jack off, ace 10 suited if I just call. But if I 3-bet, they probably just let go of those hands. So I gain extra forward equity by 3-betting here. And that's why with those two stack size, I rather like to see a 3-bet here. And also, I mean, the guy here, the Davu guy, he seems to be a bit more sticky. He doesn't really like to fold against 3-bets. Anyway, I still have a decently good hand. So here, like this, his folding tendency against 3-bet speaks actually against the 3-bet, but the stack size sitting behind speaks for the 3-bet. So as you can see right now, it's more like flipping a coin. It's like, whatever, I went for the 3-bet. And here, since we are almost less or below 30 big blinds, I also already start 3-betting a bit smaller, which is totally reasonable. You can still 3-bet 3x, it's totally fine. But with this hand, I actually just wanted to overtake the initiative. And yeah, I can also do it with aces, kings, queens super easily, so he cannot exploit that. And yeah, super easy standard to check back with the draw here in order to protect our equity, not get jammed. Check jam, then we start betting the turn, we jam the river as a bluff, and it goes through. Jack 10 suited, also again, both options viable. As you can see, I always want to show you those hands where I'm like, it's close, it's in between. I mean, that we're gonna flat here, king jack suited is pretty obviously flat. King queen suited, we 3-bet for value, aces, kings, queens. I don't want to show you those hands. I want to show you, okay, how do I play those kind of like borderline hands, you know, where like, what do we do? Flatting is totally fine, but I want to show you how you can, you know, get this little extra edge in order to push your ROI, to increase your ROI, to also make more chips in the early game. Yet tournaments, you win tournaments in the late game, but surviving the early stage with the bigger stacks is probably not too bad, right? So here, I want to show you just how you can make good decisions in those very, very close situations. I don't actually see, yeah. I just want to, I don't see such a big reason for 3-betting here, but again, it's totally fine. And yeah, I went for the delayed c-bet, which is totally fine. I don't mind c-betting the flop here though, because I'm only having a gut shot. But if I get raised or jammed, it kind of sucks because I have the backdoor flush draw, 2 overs to the 9, the gut shot. So yeah, I think you can c-bet or check back. This is a big blind defense here, 3x against a regular. I don't mind a fold. Jack 10 off is kind of tricky, but there's pretty big ante. You should always take a look at the antes here. It's not big antes, but it's definitely bigger than 10%. So usually you have 10%, 9% ante, but here you have 11 or 12% antes. So we have a little bit more antes. So that's why I defended this hand. But yeah, on the flop we just give up. Okay, you made a mistake. I was not aware of the stack size. I mean, he has only 14 bigs, and we don't want to play a hand like this against the 14 big blind stack, so we should just fold. You can flat a hand like Queen Jack, maybe Jack 10 suited, but that's pretty much it. You shouldn't go any looser. And yeah, I was just, I saw 10 9 suited at the bottom, min raise, we call, right? I was not looking at the stack size. I mean, those mistakes happen, and you should review them and learn from them, and and then clap on your head or wherever in order to remind you that this should, if possible, not happen again, or not happen so frequently. Yeah, what's happened then, and then we just give up on the flop. All right, this is a very, very tricky situation here. The guy under the gun, more on the tighter side so far. We are also only 30 bigs, so I hopefully folded this hand. Yeah, I'm really happy. Here I was aware of the stack size also situation, that he's probably more on the tighter side. Yet it's only 26 hands, so it's just a little tendency. I don't want to say he's tight. It's like his tendency over the first 26 hands say he's more on the tighter side. So I'm using this information to not go crazy and 3-bet here. I would 3-bet something like Jack 10 suited, or King Jack suited, and those kind of hands. Ace 10 suited, and then having my Jacks plus Ace King value range. All right, 10-6 suited. No, no, we're probably going crazy. But I remember this hand. I had some pretty good read on him that never tried to bluff him off a top pair. So that basically means, and also if I don't make my notes not specifically, then it was a situation where I know, okay, this guy is just a super huge calling station. Yet I think 10-6 suited is a bit too loose. But I see now, because of the big blind. And the big blind, there was also a huge fish. I mean, the hijack is not a fish, but he played against me where, in my opinion, I think he was calling way too much. So I think with also the big blind coming along very frequently and then playing 3-way against 2 calling stations, and I can still hit something big and then can get a big payout. So yeah, I would definitely increase my calling range a lot, but definitely not off-suited aces. So everything that is suited, connected, but 10-6 suited is definitely the bottom. Yeah, and we totally missed the board, and we go to the next hand. Also here 9-8 suited, only around 21 big blinds, 22 big blinds, also a little bit more open raise, more on the bigger size. Usually people min raise or would raise something to 450, 460 with the stack size as such. I would like the fold here, just too short. It's speculative hand, no implied odds given, so just let go. 9-7 suited here, and this is a situation where we are pre-ante, and this is really important. All those ranges I've been showing you is for post-ante. So I mean, except for under the gun MP, you can basically open raise the same ranges for open raising, but for cold calling, you have to consider that people open raise a bit tighter. Hence, you should also flat cone 3-bet a few hands tighter. Let's say from middle position against under the gun 1 or 2 or 3%. The thing is that most people are not really adapting to pre-ante, since the game is changing in these days to more post-ante game. So they're basically raising the same ranges, but you should be aware of that. The majority are tighter pre-ante, and that makes a lot of sense. There are no antes, so there's less dead money in the middle, which makes it worse to open raise a little bit looser. So be aware of that and play tighter, and you always have to see it relative. For example, under the gun +2 versus under the gun, you just call 1 or 2 hands tighter. MP cutoff, you should not play hands like ace jack off or king queen off against under the gun, because people are open raising mostly very tight with their ace x hands, and not even opening so many suited ace x hands. And then versus cutoff, you go tighter by 5%, 6%, right? So always be aware of which position you're playing from and at which position you're playing against. And obviously blind versus blind, we're also defending tighter. Big blind versus button, we are also defending tighter. But most of the time we are playing post ante anyway, and we're just playing. If you follow a very tight approach pre ante, you're already making already a lot of things right. Oh yeah, so here the 9-7 suited, it's a very thin call, but it's okay. Post ante is super standard call. 3-betting would be a little bit too wide. In my opinion, we could definitely choose better hands to do it with. But since we're still quite deep, it's an okay call here. But on that flop, we should just let it go. Here, pocket 8 against this is the same opponent, very aggressive. Yet I don't want to 3-bet this hand here. We can 3-bet other hands or choose other hands in order to exploit his tendency opening to lose. So we just call, and yeah, and then we just give up. We would have called once on the flop and then give up on the turn. And I know, especially from the small bet, it's super tricky. Especially these kind of like pocket 7s, pocket 8s, pocket 9s types of hand. But you're not the only one. It's a shared experience. Everybody is struggling in those situations. So don't overwhelm yourself. Like, I don't know how to play those spots, but this happens. So here it's a 2.5x open raise. Also, there's no ante in the middle, so my price for defending gets a little bit worse. So here I'm choosing to go for a 3-bet. As you remember, we want to 3-bet those hands from the big blind against the button. Like 6-3 suited and stuff. And against a cutoff, we should have a little bit stronger hands. We should probably not 3-bet those hands like 6-3 suited, 5-3 suited, and then we should be a little bit more in the direction of 7-6 suited, 7-8 suited, 7-9 suited in those hands, and pick them as a bluff and goes through. Here pocket 6s, we have 40 bigs, but the guy makes a 2.5x, so he's also regular. Big blind is also regular, so we just stick to our range. We just would probably call 7s or 8s and better. All right, here we go. Now we have 2 overcarders and one fish open raise from under the gun, another fish, or he seems to be playing fishy so far, and then another overcaller. He seems to be regular. So the hands I would call here would be something, even though it's 3 times the big blind's open raise, I would definitely increase my calling range here to somewhat something like this. Yeah, and I mean, my usually I would defend something around, just making it real quick here, something around 15% against the under the gun rates here against 3x. Sorry, it's probably 13%. But since they're both fish and there's a lot of potential money to win, we're pretty deep, so I'm gonna call all of those speculative hands. So my range goes up to 23%, yeah, 25, 26% even. Yeah, but we're missing the board and not continuing. Here pocket 3 is a little bit too weak, 30 bigs only. Also he makes it 2.5x, so we just let go. Pretty easy fold, even though the big blind is a weaker opponent, but we're just too short. That's the problem here. And here we're a little bit bigger, a little bit deeper, but it's very thin. It's okay in that position. He's opening from MP, we are hijack, so it's okay. If we would be one position earlier, I would probably tend more towards folding. Yeah, on that board texture. Yeah, and here we just bluff the river because we can hardly find any bluffs now, and pocket 2s, pocket 3s are really good candidates to bluff with in order to fold out his pocket 5s, pocket 6s, pocket 7s, even pocket 9, something like ace 8, 8 9, 8 7 suited. And we can easily represent a hand like king 10 suited, maybe even ace king here and there. We can have ace jack, all combinations. We can even value bet ace 10 suited here. Pretty thin though, maybe with the smaller sizing, but we definitely have the king can hit our range. Yeah, if we mix it up with bluffing threes and deuces, then, and we're not blocking his sevens and sixes. But now I'm already getting too deep in the post-flop shit. That was not my intention, and this will be part of another video, and this is gonna be epic. So don't miss the post-flop stuff. Pocket deuce here. Now we're on the button. Less than roughly 30 bigs. It is okay to call here. Because now there are only 2 players left to act who can come over the top and rejam or squeeze. So here I would like to see a call. Hopefully, no, I folded. Yeah, I don't really like it. I mean, if the guy would have less than 25 big blinds, then I don't mind the fold. But since he still has more than 25 big blinds, around 28 big blinds, I would have liked to see a call here. All right, that was the last hand. So take action, guys. Don't forget it. Focus on 3-betting and flatting the next 2 weeks. What I want you to do is record a 30-minute session. You can do it, for example, with Camtasia, but there are also other tools you can use for free. Then review the session and analyze as many pre-flop decisions as possible. Now, try to consider the following questions. What hands would I 3-bet bluff with? What hands would I flat call with? Did I consider the player sitting behind? Hence, did you make a good decision? So try to consider all the information, basically the same what I did here. You can also just review an entire hand history, it's fine, but recording a session, then you can see right away where you had a lack of focus because you were involved in a big pot on another table. Maybe your attention is drifting away too quickly when you're involved in a big pot. So there you can also kind of like consider the dynamics with other players, the table flow, all that stuff. So I really like doing those session analyses, and you can also commentate your play in game, and then you can listen to your thoughts afterwards, and you can then recorrect them. And it's a really powerful method in order to improve something like working on your pre-flop 3-betting and cold calling ranges. And you can do also the same for post-flop. But post-flop, actually, I know I don't recommend it for post-flop because they can do other things, but especially for pre-flop, it's really powerful. I highly recommend doing that. And every single time you make those kind of analyze, always write down a quick conclusion, what you have learned, what you did wrong, what you want to work on, and write down your leaks every single time and write in your diary, and then you can keep track of your progress. So remember, my friend, you are on an epic journey, but only if you take action. So do yourself the favor, I mean, not me, of taking action to become a great poker player. So this was the second video of the pre-flop course. I'm already looking forward to see you in the next course. That was Ben CB for RaiseYourEdge.com. Bye bye, guys.